There's a particular kind of quiet that settles in when you're 71. Not peaceful, necessarily. Not the quiet of a Sunday morning or a still lake. It's the quiet of a house where most of the noise has already happened, where the doors have been opened and closed so many times that the hinges have gone soft. I've been sitting in that kind of quiet a lot lately. My name is Robert Hale. I'm 71 years old. I built shopping centers, office parks, warehouse complexes, real physical things, buildings that still stand. But the thing I built that lasted the longest wasn't made of concrete, it was distance. Distance between me and my son, and I built it slowly, carefully. The same way I built everything else. I grew up in a small town in central Ohio. My father was a carpenter, not famous, not ambitious in any grand way. He just made things with his hands. Furniture, repairs, cabinets. I remember the smell of sawdust in his clothes, his cracked knuckles, the quiet way he moved through a room. He didn't give speeches. He didn't tell me how to live. He just showed up. He was at dinner, on the porch, at school events. I don't remember him missing things. I think I spent the next 50 years trying to prove I understood what work meant. I went into development, commercial real estate. I was good at it. By my mid-30s, I had my own company. By my mid-40s, it wasn't small anymore. I built things. And I believed that was the same thing as building a life. A few years ago, I drove past an office park I built in Pennsylvania. I pulled into the parking lot and just sat there. I thought I'd feel pride. Instead, I felt something closer to estrangement. My name had been on every document. Every decision shaped that place. And yet, it felt like it belonged to someone else. I drove away unsettled. I didn't understand it then, I think I do now. I was married at 26. Her name was Carol. We had a son, Daniel. And somewhere in the middle of building my business, I lost her. Not to another man, not to anything dramatic, just neglect, absence, 100 small decisions to put work first. She told me once she felt like she was living next to a man who was always somewhere else in his head. She wasn't angry. She was tired. Daniel was 7 when we divorced. I told myself I was a present father. I showed up on weekends, holidays, when I could manage it. I told myself the business, the security was for him. I told myself that was love. There's a memory that hasn't left me. Daniel was 10, maybe 11. It was a gray October Saturday. He had a baseball game, not a championship, just a regular rec league game. He asked me to come. I said yes. And that morning I got a call about a deal that was falling apart. Financing problems. Urgent. I sat on the porch and made calls for 2 hours. By the time I looked at the clock, the game had started. I thought I'll catch the end. I didn't. When I got home, Daniel was at the kitchen table still in his uniform. I started explaining. The deal, the circumstances. He just nodded like he'd expected it. Like he'd already built my absence into the afternoon. That nod. I've thought about it hundreds of times. That was something being built. I just didn't know it at the time. I married again at 38. Patricia. She was strong, intelligent, not impressed by success. She didn't want money. She wanted me to be present. The business was at its peak then. Travel, meetings, decisions across multiple states. I was successful by every external measure. But there's a thing that happens when someone keeps waiting for you to show up, and you don't. Eventually they stop waiting. They don't leave. They rearrange their life around your absence. One day you realize the house is full, but you're alone in it. Patricia and I are still married. But there are evenings when we sit in the same room, reading, television on low, and I think about all the evenings I wasn't there. I want to say I see it now. I want to say I'm sorry. Sometimes I don't. And sometimes I'm afraid of what that conversation would uncover. I sold my company at 63. My heart had given me a warning the year before. Nothing catastrophic. Just a message. Pay attention. For 6 months after I sold, I didn't know who I was. I had spent 40 years being defined by what I was building, and suddenly there was nothing to build. In that stillness, things surfaced. Memories, faces, moments I'd outrun for decades. 2 years before my father died, we sat on his porch one summer evening, fireflies in the yard. He'd had a stroke. His speech was slower. He looked at me and said, "You built a lot, Bobby." He was quiet a moment. Then he said, "I always wondered if you were building for you or to show me something." I laughed. The way you laugh when something lands somewhere tender. I never answered him. He died 14 months later. I've turned that sentence over in my mind more times than I can count. Building for you or to show me something. I'm not sure I ever knew the difference. Last spring, Patricia invited me to an event for a nonprofit she started, tutoring and mentorship for kids. I almost didn't go. I went, and I watched her move through that room. She knew every child's name, their stories, their struggles. A boy showed her a drawing of a horse. The way she looked at it, the full attention she gave it, something shifted in me. I thought about Daniel at 10. I realized attention is the real thing. Not money, not buildings, not success. Attention, the full weight of your presence. Saying, "I see you." I gave that far less than I thought I had. Daniel is 44 now. He lives in Seattle. He has 2 children. There's a distance between us. Polite, careful. I wrote him a letter last month. Not an email, a letter. I wrote it over 3 days. I told him I understood some things now that I didn't before. I told him I was sorry for the games I missed, the moments I treated as flexible. He called me when he got it. The conversation was slower, different. Long silences that carried something instead of avoiding it. It didn't erase anything, but something shifted. Small, real. "I'll take it. My doctor uses phrases like 'we'll monitor this and let's see how you respond.' I'm not dying today, but time has a shape now, and there's something clarifying about that. Most of what I worried about didn't matter. The deals that fell through, the competitors, the recession losses, it all passed. What didn't pass was Daniel's nod. What didn't pass was my father's question. What didn't pass was Patricia's patience. Those things stay. Last summer, my grandson Cole stood with me in the backyard looking at the old oak tree. He asked if the tree knew things. I said maybe. He said, "If it does, it probably doesn't talk much." We laughed. Nothing was accomplished that afternoon. Nothing was built. And yet it may be one of the most important afternoons of my life. Something softened in me. I used to confuse velocity with purpose. As long as I was moving fast, I believed I was moving correctly. I wasn't building a better life. I was building walls. Walls that kept out vulnerability. Walls that kept in softness. Walls that kept me efficient and distant. When the motion stopped, some of those walls came down. Not all at once, but enough. The thing I built that outlived my company was distance. And somehow, in slowing down, I built something else too. The capacity to finally sit still and feel it. I don't know how much time I have left, but these mornings I wake before Patricia. I make coffee, I sit by the window, I look at the yard, the old oak tree, the bird feeder waiting to be filled. I try to be in the room I'm in, with the person who's there, actually there. That's all I know how to offer now. Presence, it's a small thing, but I've learned it may have been the only thing that mattered. I hope it's enough.